How am I going to clear out the gunk in my soul? Welcome to the Anonymous Andrew podcast, Life and the Choices We Make. I am your host, Anonymous Andrew. This is a podcast about all things as they relate to dating, romance, and relationships. Why we sometimes ignore or choose to ignore or miss the red flags. The red flags like gaslighting, cheating, lying, psychological manipulation, mental illness, addiction, and so much more. Join me each week as we continue my journey into the modern dating world with my weekend rants, anonymous guest dating stories, and experts who share their wisdom so I can help you navigate the dating terrain. If you are new to the show or have started my journey with me, hold on tight for the Anonymous Andrew experience. Now on to the show. Greetings and welcome to the Anonymous Andrew podcast, Life and the Choices We Make. So, this episode is truly a special episode, and I'll tell you why. I am recording this episode on Columbus Day weekend, which marks the 1 year, quote unquote, anniversary of the death of my relationship that spawned this podcast. It was Columbus Day weekend 2022 when my ex-girlfriend walked into my house, and when we had our intimate moment is when I saw the swollen vagina for the very last time. I had enough. No more. And you know the rest of the story. So, this special weekend. It's 1 year later, and I would have never thunk. If you had told me last year at this time that I would be recording an episode on a podcast that I've had for almost a year, and that I would be in season 2 and talking about this and now going on into the dating world, all of that, I would have said you're crazy. But here we are. And today's episode is also special in the sense that Marilyn Penny, who has been with me from the early days of the early episodes, she is my spiritual life coach. And she's the one that has been helping me clear the gunk out of my soul. You know, I can point the finger and make a list of all the things my ex did. And as you guys know, I took accountability for a lot of, well, number one, that I stayed way too long. But I'm not innocent in this whole scenario, this whole debacle. I am taking some responsibility, and a lot of it has to do with just my innate personality and things from my childhood, my middlehood, my middle age, all the way up until the current. And what Marilyn Penny does is she goes back, she does readings, she goes into my Akashic records, and she basically, we find out at what points in my life did I make the left turn, the right turn, the wrong turn, the U-turn, all of it. Anyway, without further ado, this is the 4th reading Marilyn did, and it's, I think, basically wraps it up. And hopefully this time, the final one We will clear my chakra, clear my gunk out of my soul so I can proceed and go on with my life and look for and find and sustain a healthy, romantic relationship. Enjoy the episode, and we'll talk to you on the other side. Greetings, everybody. Anonymous Andrew back with you again. And I have with me again Marilyn Penny. And that name should sound familiar to you because she's been on this podcast. This is her 4th appearance, and I am so happy. And Marilyn, welcome.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be back.
So today you're back to tell us, to do a reading. I'm going to have you explain it to the audience what we're going to do today.
Okay, sounds great. So all that we have been doing is uncovering and clearing blocks and restrictions that are coming from your past life experiences and even, experiences from your present life. So I read the Akashic Records. I have direct access to uncover and figure out what these blocks are and how they keep repeating for you. So it's a process. So we started with a relationship reading, then we did a home energy clearing, then we did a soul realignment, and now we're going to do a life situation reading. So it's all to the same end, to the same result. Is what we're trying to do is just get rid of those blocks, the gunk that we talk about.
The gunk.
That's in your energetic body that is keeping you from moving towards the life you desire, essentially, right? Because we're all here to live a good life. We're all here to make choices, like you say, making those choices that are healthy for us. So if we can get rid of some of the negative choices we've made in the past, that will clear the way for us to make better choices going forward.
And I have made some pretty poor negative choices in the past. So. Okay.
And that's okay, because listen, we talked about how it's all brought you here. I made some not so great choices in my life too, but I look back and I am grateful that I went through some of those challenges because those helped me to learn and they helped me to help other people now. So that's what you're doing as well. So yeah, I'm super proud of you for coming full circle, Andrew. Like you have, and you do the work. Like you are one of those people that says, okay, I effed up and now I'm going to fix it and now I'm going to work on myself. And you have done nothing but that for the past year. And that is brilliant and inspiring.
Yeah. And I don't know when the audience will hear this, but I want to tell them that we are recording this on Columbus Day weekend, 2023. And it is 1 year ago this weekend that my relationship ended, which spawned this podcast and spawned all of the growth that has come out of that trauma, grief, the ending of that relationship. Never did I imagine 1 year later where I would be, and I am in a much better place today, and it's thanks to people like yourself and all of the people who have supported me and helped me grow spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and I'm in a much better place than a year ago today. I would have never imagined this. I thought in a fantasy world, I thought we'd be back together again, and anyway, let's proceed, because I'll save that for my weekend rant.
Okay, great. And this reading couldn't come at a better time because, things may come up in emotions and stuff from the past year, the anniversary stuff that we go through sometimes. So this is brilliant. This is perfect.
Great.
So what you have done ahead of time is given me a number of issues that are going on in your life. So I take all of those issues and I divide them up into what we call situations. Okay, so there are, of all the things you gave me, there are 3 situations coming up in your life, and then we look at the blocks that are coming up for them. Okay,
great.
So the first one is it's around your work. So you had mentioned that your boss is micromanaging and disorganized, and also that you have a stressful work environment. Okay, so we're going to address that, because even though you're coming at this right from the beginning from a relationship perspective, there's always other things that are going on in different life areas that are going to impact each other. So it's really good to go in and clear out stuff from all of these life areas, right? So there are 2 blocks that are coming up for you in this situation. One is a personal belief, and it's running in your 3rd chakra, mental body. So that's your 3rd chakra, is your solar plexus. That's your self-esteem, your self-confidence, all of those things. That's your core. You created it when you were 23 years old in 1983-84. And how it's expressing itself, the block, is he who fails to prepare prepares to fail. So if you think about that, what was going on when you were 23?
I had just I just graduated, so I graduated college at 22, and my college years were difficult because I was expelled from my first college. My father went to a pre-med school down in Maryland, and he was a doctor, and he sent me there, and I think in his mind he hoped that I would become a doctor and follow him and maybe hand down his practice. I went down there, and that's where my alcohol and drug addiction career started, was down there, because they stuck me in what I found out later. Playboy magazine back then would do articles on the colleges that had the biggest party atmosphere, and this college was listed like number 5 in the country.
Oh no.
And sure enough, so that's where all that began. I was expelled because it's a long story. Came back home, lived at home, went to a different college back here, and then I met my wife. So around 23 is when I met, or 22, 23, and we got engaged. I was married at 25, so I had just
Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting. Okay. So that whole aspect of preparing yourself comes up when you're sort of like, you feel that you need to be prepared for everything. So when you attract a stressful job and a stressful micromanager boss, you think you need to be prepared for everything. So you're not kind of letting the universe work with you. You're not letting things come as they're meant to come. You're sort of making yourself prepare and have a plan. And you see how the plans keep going sideways when you do that.
Yeah.
Does that sort of make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I had no clue what I was doing at 23 years old. I was just living a very nice lifestyle. I was still living with my parents, who were well off, and my to-be wife at that time also was a child of a doctor. I don't know if you remember, there was a soap opera called General Hospital back then.
Gosh. Yeah.
And do you remember Luke and Laura?
Oh, Luke and Laura, yeah.
Well, my wife worked in the hospital, and that's where I met her, because when I got kicked out of that college, my father got me a job at that hospital, and so she and everybody, we were watching General Hospital back then, and we were the Luke and Laura of our town.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. That makes sense.
But to your point of, I had no clue what I was doing. I was drinking heavily, doing a lot of drugs. Got married. I was not understanding what I was getting myself into. Obviously, the marriage only lasted 7 years, and because it wasn't. Two beautiful boys came out of that marriage, but
Yeah. And maybe this is coming a little bit from your parents sort of trying to steer you, and you were like, you're not digging that, so you kind of went the other way, and you were, Yeah, there's something about it, but it was triggered at that time. So maybe now you are feeling like if I leave or if I make one more move that doesn't work out, I'm screwed. So you're going to stay in that stressful job. It's going to hold you because otherwise I'm going to fail again. Like you have that sort of, does that make sense?
In this current job?
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, that's triggering back to holy crap. When I didn't do it, I messed up. So now I got to prepare myself. I just got to stick it out.
That's where my mindset is even though I'm looking for work elsewhere, I'm always on LinkedIn and applying for jobs, but there's something in my mind saying this is where I'm going to end up retiring, and I'm stuck here. And the truth of it is I get paid a decent salary with all the perks and benefits, and at my age to transfer to another company, and to me in my mind it's too complicated. It's almost like it's better off just. This goes back to what I talked about in the beginning of the podcast. Stick with the devil you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, people do go from frying pan to fire. That happens too. But this is where you sort of sit down and say, I think I would like to create a new position for myself. I have a lot of value because some people, when they do move to different jobs, they get paid more and they get better benefits because you're a commodity. You can sell yourself as your experience.
And I need to have self-confidence to exude that. Yeah.
Exactly. So that stuff that's sitting in your third chakra is preventing you from moving forward and doing
Correct.
it. Okay. So we work on unpacking that, taking that out. You're also participating in what we call an illusion, which, you kind of know what that means. That means that you're thinking something is correct when it's not, and you are subscribing to it. And this is in your third chakra again, in the emotional side though, and it's all things come to those who wait. So does that feel like sort of your vibe sometimes, that you're kind of, I'm going to wait it out because it's going to turn out? I mean, in the relationship side of things, we see that, right? I'm going to, it's good. The good is coming. I'm going to wait. I think it's going to turn around.
I can apply that to both the job and the relationship.
Right.
My whole life, it has always been trying to plan the next step, or if not plan, just move forward without thinking. Jump into the next relationship. Jump, like you said, from the frying pan to fire. This whole year that I've taken off from dating, I've been concentrating and working on myself, and I'm exactly where you just said. I'm just waiting because I believe something better is going to come along, and that could be a job. That could be a person. That could be a situation. Something. I'm trying not to force anything. I'm letting everything naturally unfold. Right.
So, but remember that you don't want to be too passive, right? You want to create as well, because the universe may not know that you're looking to do anything, because you're just saying, just kind of wait. So there's an aspect of it that you want to try to co-create with the universe. You want to say, this is what I would really want. And that's going to come up again, because you did talk about potentially moving, and maybe that's not a good thing, but maybe that's kind of hanging you up too, because you're like, if I get a new great job in New York, then I'm going to stay in New York, but I kind of want to move to Florida. Like you're a little all over the map, and the universe might just say, don't know, buddy, don't know what you want. So we can't help you.
And I had a phone call with my son just last night from Florida, and he was saying, Dad, when are you coming down? Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. Okay. So, and that's going to come up. So let's go through the next. The next situation is all about your finances. So that instability or concern, or just that, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know. I'm not where I want to be, sort of thing. So that's just feeling unstable about that. Okay. So there is a cord attached to you. It's from the age of 34. So a cord is just like an energetic connection that someone is, and you have allowed it to connect to you. It's from someone who's not currently in your life. I think it might be your ex-wife, but you can clarify that for me. It's in your second chakra. So second chakra is where your finances are. That's your sacral. Your finances, your creativity, your sexuality all sit in that second chakra. And the aspect is failure. It's just coming up as failure. So who was in your life at age 34? Was that...
At 32 is when I got divorced.
Okay.
33, 34, I was in a spiral downward. I had lost the marriage. I was heavily into alcohol and drugs. And that's about when I started my first recovery process. And in the meantime, I met a woman who became, let's say, my second wife, but we never married. But in New York, if you live with somebody, I think over 10 years, they become common law, I think it's called.
Right.
And she and I produced my third child.
Okay.
So I had a child with this woman, and we lived together from 33, 34 for 10 or so plus years, maybe even longer. So that would be her.
Okay. Do you think that is her that kind of felt that you were a failure
What?
with respect to...
Well, there's one significant thing that I just remembered. You said something about financial failure. I filed bankruptcy at the exact same time I got divorced. When my lawyer, my lawyer, my wife and I used the same lawyer. It was a mutual divorce. It wasn't a bitter divorce. So we chose to use the same lawyer, and the lawyer, we also had at that time accumulated $50,000 in debt or something, and he suggested that we file bankruptcy together, because if I filed and she did, they would go after her. So we both had to file bankruptcy together. And so it's interesting that this is about, because I forgot about that. I filed bankruptcy right around that 32, 33.
Right. But it doesn't sound like it's your wife, like your first ex-wife. It sounds like it might be this other woman. Do you think?
Yeah, because she didn't. I want to be very careful how I talk about her. Yeah, So I'm not sure what you're fishing for here.
No, I'm just trying to bring your awareness to you having a cord connected to you that someone is making you feel like a failure with respect to your ability to provide your finances. So if you've got that running in you, that's automatically telling you that doesn't matter what you do, you're always going to feel like a failure in the financial realm, right? So, and we don't even have to talk about the person that attached the cord.
Okay.
You allowed the cord to attach, and it's just sitting there, right?
Okay.
For 34, like how many years ago is that? 20, 30? Almost 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30, yeah, I'm 63, and that would have been 30. Oh my God, 30 years ago.
I know. I feel the same. I just turned 59, man. I know.
Oh.
But here's the thing. It's even though you went through bankruptcy and you came out of that and you're sort of inching your way up, you still have that mindset of I'm not good at this part. So that's something we can remove. Let's disconnect that, and then, because you might attract people who think that of you too, like any relationship that you're in. Someone may come to you and feel that, feel that cord, and that may be pushing them away.
I have done a 180 on the financial thing because I was never responsible financially. At that age of 34, where a responsible, mature adult at that age who might be married would buy a home, start like my oldest son, who's 35, ironically 35,
Right.
just bought his second home. He has two children. He's a vice president of an accounting firm, doing extremely well. And so this is what I'm talking about. I didn't make those decisions. He's doing what I didn't do. He's making the right choices about his financial future and behaving appropriately in his life. And I didn't do that. Today, I woke up one day and said, oh, wow, I don't have any money to retire. So, yes, now I'm trying to scramble and figure out a retirement plan. And my credit is excellent, and I'm getting credit card offers from. I have more credit cards. I actually have like 5 credit cards. Thank God none of them have maxed out or limits on them. I mean, like a lot of balance on them. But I'm more financially responsible today than I was 30 years ago.
Right. And look what you did. You produced a child that is doing it differently. Look at you. So
differently. And he listens to this podcast, so I'm not going to mention his name, but he knows, and I also want him to know I'm very proud of him because he was able to do something that I was not able to do.
Well, it's wonderful. And you know what? There's still time for you to do it. Just change your mindset. I have what I need, and I will have what I need when I retire. However it comes, it can still come. It's not, and I went through a similar thing. I've been up and down, and and I'm just deciding that I'm going to be okay. Right? That changes things huge when you get.
And interesting, just to do a little shameless or self-promotion, I'm hoping that this podcast one day becomes my retirement. I can retire with my savings and my 401k and all that, but this will be my second job or my retirement job. If this continues, if I can, and at the stage that the data is showing me, it's increasing, it's growing, I'm getting more audience. If I could generate an income from this podcast in the next couple of years, this might be my retirement gig. Yeah. instead of greeting people at Walmart, like.
Right. Well, listen, we've talked about this a few times. Your communication is your energy. You need an audience. You are now expressing your gift, and look what's happening. I mean, yeah.
Because I can imagine myself with the blue vest greeting people at Walmart. Because when do you have Walmarts by you? I'm sure you do. Yes. Yeah, when you walk in, there's a senior citizen waiting there and just saying welcome. And
we've had some that are like can't even get off the chair. Like,
that's what I imagined a couple of years ago. That's where I'm going to end up, in Florida at a Walmart.
Hey, you know what? You're manifesting. Everything you think and speak is
correct. I got to be careful. Yeah.
Manifest. I know. You used to say cancel. I don't know.
No, I don't have that mindset anymore. No, I have this podcast or something along the lines.
Okay. So the next thing I found with respect to finances, there's just 2 things. The next thing is the underactive second chakra. So that's your sacral chakra just not firing. It's underactive, which triggers all kinds of things like financial issues, neglecting your finances, trouble manifesting at the physical level. So that's really important. And, like things like dissatisfying sex life, of all things. It just means that things are flat. You're not activating your second chakra. So that's an important thing to work on, to focus on. So I continue meditations on that. It really, and there are people that rebalance chakras. I don't necessarily do that. I do a general clearing in your records, which can help. But typically to make chakras rebalance themselves, it's by taking action. So you are literally taking action now by working on your finances. If you want to put out a message to the universe, I would like a new job. Here's where I want it to be. Here's what I want it to look like, and here's the money I want to make. Like start really getting visceral with how you feel about money, and start loving money, because money can love you back. Money can.
Oh, yes, it can.
Appear in different ways. You don't have to be just, I can only make money with a job. Money can come in different ways. So just be open to it and start to take any actions that you feel intuitively might lead you to, improved financial situation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. I just got to put that into action, like you said. And it's funny you mentioned that you said the sexuality was part of the second chakra.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is age or still from the last relationship. This might be off a little bit of the beaten path on the topic, but 2 years ago I had a comprehensive blood panel done, and they checked for so many. I lost a lot of weight, and they had me go for a lot of tests. And they tested my testosterone, and for a man my age, it should be around 200, 300. I was 990. It was way off the charts. And yeah, and at that time, I was also with my girlfriend, and the sex life was active and good and all that.
Yeah.
The point I'm getting at is today I have no desire for sex. It's not even it's not even a thought in my mind, which is very unusual for, number one, me, and two, being a male. I mean, men, what do they say, think about sex 30 times a day or something. If it pops up once in my head a day, and then I get all wacky about it, it's like, no, it's something in my...
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that ties in. That makes sense.
That ties in.
So, yeah. So, and part of that is that mental emotional connection, and you still letting go of that past relationship. That was huge for you. Like, that whole situation was big, and you're sort of unpacking and getting through it and taking those pieces away. And the experiences that you're currently having, that you're trying to reframe, like you're like, man, why are people still like this? Why am I still going through this crap? Well, you're still learning, and you're still, and it's going to help the podcast. If nothing else, just say, hey, I've got another, that's what comedians say, right? It's like, well, I got invited to a party. I didn't want to go, but I thought I could use some new material. I mean, use it.
That's the at first, this podcast started with me just wanting to go out and vent about what happened to me, but now it's a journey that I'm on, and people are coming along for the ride, and I'm opening up my life to the world, and being very vulnerable, and a lot of the reviews on my Apple and some of the feedback I get is like, wow, you don't hold anything back, you just let it all out, and that's what's attracting the people, is that my brutal honesty and vulnerability. So
yeah, and having a man do that is brilliant.
That's it. That's what they're saying. It's like it's unheard of. So, when you look at social media, there's a lot of male social media influencers, but they got an agenda. And it's either the anti-woman movement, the red pill movement, all that stuff. And I'm completely the opposite of that. I don't have any movement. I don't have any agenda. It's just my journey I'm on. And
it's great. I think it's great. Okay, so let's go through the last situation. This is involving your relocation, like this sort of idea, concern about relocating. Should I go? Should I not? I would like to go maybe to Florida. I don't know how that's going to impact me, that sort of thing. Also, the age-related health issues or concerns about your health as you age. That goes in with that relocation thing, which kind of makes sense, and we can talk a bit about that. The stalled attempts at relationships. So this is still like this ongoing. These, like you were saying, these relationships are nothing sticking right now. So that's, a part of it that goes in here too. And then all this stuff about that you said about the strange things happening on your computer and your phone, and thinking somebody might be connecting in, or stalkings, like the cyber stalking thing, which, is a real thing, and it's happening a lot. So having that feeling, all of that stuff sort of is lumped together in a thing. And it's maybe a couple of unusual ones, but they all sort of fit together somehow. Okay. So the first thing, you have 3 blocks in this situation. And the first thing that comes out is your chakra 4. It's another chakra imbalance, and it's your heart, and your heart chakra is underactive. Okay. So we've talked about self-love. I know you have moved the needle on that a little bit, but yeah, it's it's a process again, and it's coming. So that, underactive 4th chakra is lack of self-love. It's also lack of loving relationships. And I could honestly say, and maybe you can too, that even this past relationship wasn't loving in a way that you needed it to be, right? So that just knocked your 4th chakra down even more. So, but you got through that, and that was a huge test to your ability to stay true to yourself, and to ride it out, to try your best at it, and to know that it was time to let it go. So, and that is a huge boost to your 4th chakra. You're still not where you need to be, and you still are working on that, which is...
My heart is, if it was a store, it's closed for customers. In other words, it's not, even if I started dating somebody and there was some chemistry and all that, I don't see it. I don't see love happening anytime soon. But that's a choice that I think either I'm making, or it's the chakra would be that my heart's closed for love. It's just,
you're protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. And also, I think it's interesting because it connects to your health in a way that when you close your heart down, you're not thinking with your heart, you're thinking with your head. You're way too practical, and you're going to shut down your emotions, and that's not healthy for you physically, because it's stressful, right? We want to be able to think with our heart. And I've read, about Gabor Mate's book about stress, and chronic stress can manifest itself in physical health issues. So you want to manage things like chronic stress. This relates back to your stressful work environment. You've got a lot of stress in your life.
I do have a heart condition. It's called atrial fibrillation. I'm sure you've heard of it. Mm-hmm. And I have been seeing a cardiologist. It may or may not be genetic.
Can your boys get checked for that?
I'm sorry?
Can your boys get checked for that? Like, because if it is genetic, you want to have them tested.
Yeah. And I never thought about that. But I know that my mom, her father, both died of massive strokes, and atrial fibrillation can cause strokes. So I do have a cardiologist that I see every 4 months, and I just got an email from him that he's retiring the end of this year. And I love this cardiologist. He's one of the best cardiologists in my area, and he's retiring, and it's mind-shattering to me, because now I'm going to have to find somebody else, and I trust this guy and he got my atrial fibrillation under control, and I'm a little nervous now that the next guy that I choose, he's going to recommend somebody. But I had a relationship with this doctor, and I did whatever he told me to do, and he put me on the right medications, and yada, yada, yada. So it's just interesting that I actually do have a physical heart ailment that's under control.
Right.
But I'm a little nervous about the new doctor that's going to come in January. Okay.
Well, and maybe you need to trust that the doctor that you had is going to give you to somebody who's going to help you, and use your intuition. And that's why opening your heart is really important, because that's going to be, I heard something on a show the other night. It's like that the journey from your head to your heart is a really long one, and it might take a whole lifetime to connect those two things. So really it's a good time for you to focus on your heart and open up your heart to yourself. And when you do that, you will notice that you will be able to open up your heart to other people. So even if you need to focus opening your heart to just your family right now and your friends, and then a romantic relationship will come in time when you're ready for it. And also, I think this relates back to this concern about relocating. It relates back to the job. It's like, do I want to make changes while I'm here in New York? Do I want to get into a relationship while I'm here in New York? Do I want to have a new job in New York? Or do I really want to set my sights on moving to Florida? So maybe that's where maybe that's where my love is. Maybe that's where my new job is, right? So how are you working through all that?
It's interesting. I have an answer for that. Again, going back to this podcast and going back to, I'm not grieving, but this being the anniversary of the relationship ending, the death of the relationship a year ago, I have decided that I am going to just focus on me, growing and maybe working on these chakras, and put all my energy into this podcast, learning. And as Marilyn knows this, but the audience doesn't, we're using a new software today to record. So I'm starting to research better things to make the podcast better overall, and I'm part of a podcast community that Marilyn knows about. I'm getting a lot of help. So what I'm saying is that maybe today I'm going to focus on myself and the podcast, and continue my job, obviously. This is going to contradict with what you said before. So for now, I think I'm going to stay in New York and work on this.
Right.
But if the universe says that, then the universe is going to maybe put somebody in my life in New York. But my goal is to get to Florida, but I don't think it's going to happen this year or next.
Okay. And what if an opportunity came up in Florida? Would you go?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But that.
So maybe it's time to write down some of those things. What do I like about New York? What do I not like about New York? What do I like about Florida? What do I need to get me to Florida? And how would that feel if I was already there and I could do my podcast there, and I could maybe date there? Yeah. I'd have family there. Like, just take a minute to, if you've already decided you're going to settle in New York, well, that's fine, but you really want to go to Florida. So you've got half your brain in one place or another.
I see, and I'm on a fence. There's another aspect which I haven't brought up yet. I have 2 grandchildren that live 30 miles from here.
Oh, right. Okay.
If I go to Florida, I don't see them as often. I would have to fly up a couple times a year. They're not going to fly down to. I don't think they'd be coming to Florida unless they went to Disney World.
Right.
So if I left New York, I'd be leaving my grandchildren, and they're at that age where I want to see them grow.
Yeah. So
that also plays into my head that maybe I should stick around because of they're 4 or 5 and 3.
Aww.
So yeah, they're at that perfect age when you start to see them grow from toddlers to children, and I want to be here for that.
Okay. Well, maybe you have a conversation about that with your son. It's one of you have just 3 sons, right? They're
correct.
Boys? Yeah. Right. So maybe, maybe it's say, hey, I'm thinking of maybe going there. You never know.
Yeah.
You might say, hey, I literally want to go live in Florida. You never know, right? Have you had that conversation? Have you ever said
the 2, well, the one that lives there, and then the youngest one wants to go to Florida as well. The three of us are you're gonna laugh at this. We're looking at houses. The three of us want to all buy a house in Florida.
Hey, that's cool.
And if I could buy a house in Florida but stay in New York, they could live there. And then that would be where I would end up when I finally make the move. Anyway, so yes, we've had the question. The question was, did I have the discussion with them? The only one is my oldest son, who is telling me that the housing market in Florida is not good right now and is not a good time to buy. And as we know, the rates and all that are sky high, so it may not be a wise choice. And he's the accountant and he's the smart one, so right. We may have to listen to him.
But there's also the energetic component, because I talk to people all the time who say, well, it's not good, or it's not this, or it's a buyer's market, a seller's market. If you just say, you know what, I want to find a house, and this is how much we have to spend, so bring me a house. Like, you can play with the universe, and the universe will play with you. It's kind of fun to do it, and it doesn't, what do you got to lose, right? If you say, hey, I don't care about the market, this is what we have to spend, bring me a house. That's going to be this, I don't know. Yeah, it's just talking about it, manifesting it into your life. Okay. So the other thing is an illusion that's coming up again. So this is chakra 3. So this is going back to your self-esteem, self-confidence, solar plexus. And this is coming across as appearances are deceptive. So I think that's something that you're going through right now, is that appearances are deceptive for you. Like you're having trouble seeing what's real and what's not, who's genuine and who's not.
We're talking about people, or
I think about just in general about the relationship thing that you're seeing, the health issues that you're seeing, the relocation, like all of these sort of things, and also the cyber stalking that falls into this category too.
Good.
So, right. So
I was reluctant to talk about that on the podcast, but I think I should just briefly. Is that I have either concrete evidence and or a intuition that I'm being stalked on cyber. And I don't mean somebody's got well, yes, I do mean that my social media is also being stalked, but I believe that I'm being monitored, my activities. I have a VPN, and I had to turn it off for this interview, for the software to work, and it makes me uncomfortable doing that. If people know what a VPN is, a virtual private network. So all the traffic, the internet traffic, goes through an encrypted tunnel, and nobody can see what I'm doing, and that's why I have it. But anyway, I'm getting a little off track there. But yes, it could be paranoia. It could be wishful thinking that the ex is stalking me. It could be because that would mean that she's thinking about me, but that's not good thinking. I gotta let that go.
Right.
It goes back to it's all an illusion in my head.
Yes, exactly. So that's going to be something that we can clear out. We just need to stop thinking that way, right? Okay, and then see how that, and again, some of this stuff may settle in over the next few days that you're going to say, oh, okay, and rethink that over, how that impacts you.
Is there going to be homework after this?
Yes, of course. Of course there is. I know you love that.
Of course there is. I just realized that. I said, how are we going to do this? And then I realized, to the audience, after every reading, Marilyn gives me homework, and it's usually I have to read something before I go to bed every night, and something to that effect. I can't wait to see what this one is.
Yeah, it's really the same premise. Is you're just affirming that you've released this stuff, you're going to let go of it, we're going to start fresh, right? Okay. The last thing is what we call an imprint. So again, this is a stamp. This is a stamp on your mental body, and it's in your second chakra, that sacral chakra that we talked about. Finances, sexual energy, creative energy. And it happened when you were 17 years old. And the aspect is go with the flow. So is that 17 would have been high school.
Yeah, my last year in high school, going off to college.
Going off to college and having a good old time, going with the flow and and not really.
And this goes back to my parents.
Right.
I don't think I had a choice into the college. If they were going to pay for my college education, which they initially did, he said, this is where you're going to school. And I remember going down there with them, looking at it, and then applying for it. And he was on the alumni board. So he basically got me into this is a prestigious college. And I think he had a lot to do with getting me into it. And then I, of course, 2 semesters in, I got expelled for I was selling drugs on camp. And this wasn't me. I had always, I might have smoked pot once or twice in my teenage years. It wasn't, that's why I say my alcoholic and drug history started in my first year of college. I going with the flow. I got down there and I found out this is what you do in college. You party every weekend. And I went with the flow.
You did. You totally
yeah, did. Literally. And I flowed right out of there.
Okay, well, we all have stories.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, when my daughter went to university, we were worried that she wasn't partying. We we felt like the dumb parents were like, you could have one drink, like have one part,
Yeah.
She got wise to it eventually, but it was funny. Like some kids are just all crazy and some are so reserved and so studious, and you want that balance. You want to have fun, but also focus on your studies. But anyway, yeah, you really did the go with the flow quite well.
little too much.
A little too much. So, okay. So, yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of things going on that are going on in your head, and with your heart closed, you don't have that, you can't filter it through to your heart and really feel what it is that you want. And I think that's where we're going to just start working. You need to do some work on your heart to try and open that up, and then that will make you feel into what you really want.
Okay. I would really like to clear those. Was the chakra 3 and 2?
You've got 3, 4, and 2.
2, 3, and 4. Yeah.
2, 3, and 4. So you know what those are? That's your sacral. So that, and then your solar plexus and your heart. So that's your core. That's the middle, the part of you. Yeah, that's your power center. So if those are wonky, that's gonna make you feel unbalanced.
Yeah.
Right?
Gunk.
So your intuition is trying to fire, but it's not getting through to the other chakras, right? And your root is okay. Like you're stable and you're secure. You have a place to live. You have a job. So you have that root chakra stuff sort of in line right now. It's all the stuff in the middle that's getting messy. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. I would very much like to clear that out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's done, and your homework will affirm that. And I'm just going to pull you a Power of Surrender card, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Judith Orloff's deck, Oracle. I know you love oracles and tarot and all that. So let's see what it says for you. Surrender the drama. That's a really good one for today. So this is about, no matter how emotionally charged the situation, remain calm and don't contribute to the drama. Staying centered will help you resolve the issue more quickly. So does that sort of relate to your life in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which deck is that?
That is Judith Orloff's The Power of Surrender.
Oh, that's the one I have. Right. Okay.
Oh, yes. This is the one you have. Yeah. Right.
And that's something else.
Stick it on your hair.
That and we could talk about this off camera, off mic. But as I think I've told you, I have. If you look behind me, you'll see There's my. You can even see tarot cards are on the table there. I have not been indulging in that, and I have, I don't know, $1,000 worth of tarot cards and oracle cards and incense and all that stuff. And this was all because of the ex got me into this. And it's for 1 year, it's still been sitting here. And I even have an Instagram account dedicated to this where I used to do readings for everybody. And I've kind of not done that. I'd like to incorporate that back into my life, because when I was doing it, I felt what you do. I felt balanced and yeah. And I'd like to get back into that. So
well, that's great. Well, that's certainly something you can do.
Yeah. Oh no, I I eat my dinner right there, and I look at it every night. So
good. So
all right,
put that on your list. But do things that you feel inclined to do that give you some passion. This obviously you're passionate about. So please continue doing this.
Yeah. Marilyn Penny, thank you once again. This is almost historical, as in that not once but twice but 4 times you've made an appearance on the podcast, and I think and this is so for the audience. This is what Marilyn does. She is a spiritual
life coach,
mm-hmm. And this is what she can do for you. I'm gonna again put all your information in the show notes, and if anybody out there is looking for spiritual growth and coaching and readings like this, and I have to tell you that I've been through the homework, and it can be grueling, because when you're ready to put your head down at night and then you go, I forgot to do the reading, you got to turn the lights back on again. But if you do it consistently, like Marilyn, follow the instructions, it works. And so I'm trying to promote you, because it has helped me, and I want to thank you so much for continuing to work with me on this.
You're so welcome, Andrew.
Okay. All right. Until next time, everybody, Marilyn Penny. And again, thank you. Oh, wow. I want to thank Marilyn Penny again. She has just been wonderful. And you can find all her information in the show notes. And I am pleading with you, urging you, that if you need some spiritual guidance, if you need your chakra and your soul and your gunk removed from your soul, please contact Marilyn. Okay, and since this episode was actually recorded back in October, and I decided to release it Thanksgiving weekend, I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to all of my fans. Fans might be stretching it, but all of my followers and everybody who has supported me up until this point. I am grateful for all of you, and I am grateful to my entire support system. Everybody from the people who helped me with my social media all the way up to my sponsor, and everybody in between who's got me through this past year. It was a really rough year. So thank you, and happy Thanksgiving, and the holidays are not over yet. They're just beginning, and we have many more episodes to go. I'm just getting started. And this weekend there'll be 2 episodes. So I dropped this episode, and of course I'll do my weekend rant. I have some things that I want to talk about. So yeah, you get a double bonus for the Thanksgiving weekend. So, okay. If you are in a relationship, or if you are dating, or if you know somebody who's dating, and you are struggling with deception and gaslighting, or you're not sure, or your gut is telling you something and you just don't know what to do, I urge you to number 1, keep listening to this, but think very long and hard about what your gut is telling you. It's there for a reason. It is a second brain, and it is telling you something is up. So I urge you to choose wisely and carefully. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will talk to you next week. And I thank you, and as always, ciao.